Hi, my name is Anna Nelson, and my presentation is going to be on the Synoptic Gospels, what they are, the synoptic problem, and how the synoptics compare with John. So, what are the synoptics? Well, they're the first three books of the New Testament, and they tell the story of Jesus, the gospel. They're all similar, but never the same. They all have different focuses that seem to give you a better understanding of who Jesus is. So you're getting several opinions and not just one solid opinion on Jesus. Matthew seems to have more of a focus on Jesus being the continuation and the fulfillment of the biblical story between God and Israel. And he uses the way he presents the story and the usage of his words to make that point. Mark has a focus on, is Jesus the Messiah and how? So he brings out the stories that focus on Jesus showing how he's the Messiah to them, even though in the Jewish mind that wasn't what they were expecting. Luke has a similar focus to Matthew, but it seems to focus more on fulfillment, bringing up instances where Jesus is quoting Psalms and Isaiah or scriptures that are referring to him as the Messiah. So, what is the synoptic problem? The synoptic problem is, how are the synoptic gospels related to each other? Basically, wondering what was written first and which gospels used others as their sources. The most common belief, especially in the Assemblies of God, is called the two-source hypothesis. This basically says Mark was first, as well as another source called Q, which we aren't sure what it could be. It could be a context, it could be a big line of books that they were taking from. It's just basically saying it's another source. The next was Matthew, and he took from Mark and Q. And Luke was written last and took from all of the sources. The reason that many believe the two-source hypothesis is true is because there's so much overlap between Matthew and Luke that seems to kind of smooth over the words of Mark. And I think the statistic is 93% of Mark is found in Matthew and Luke, but Matthew and Luke have more added into it than Mark does. So you may be thinking, where's John in all of this? Isn't John a part of the Gospels? Well, yes, he is, but he tells the same story, but differently than the rest of them. That's why he's not in the Synoptics. In the book, it seems like John might assume that you already know the story of the gospel from the Synoptics, so he shows you things that you may have missed in the other gospels, kind of a behind-the-scenes look of who Jesus is and what his relationships might have looked like. It seems also that John organizes thematically to show who Jesus is in light of Judaism. He uses scriptures and different traditions and festivals that they had, kind of like Luke does, to show who Jesus is and that he is the Messiah. And so with that, you need to view John through the lens of Jewish culture. So why are all of the Gospels important? Well, if you only had one of the Gospels, which would be easier for everybody, you could read it and you'd just be done. But it would give you like a 2D picture of Jesus. With all of the four Gospels, you're able to really get a well-rounded picture of who Jesus is, like I said from one of the first slides. It just gives you more of an idea of who Jesus was from all of these different perspectives. It also helps you to know that this story is true. Like, there is no other book in history that has this many witnesses and sources saying the exact same thing. It's truly incredible how we have four accounts in our Bible that are saying the exact same thing from different authors. And my last point is that Jesus speaks through every individual gospel. He is speaking through all of those points of view. So every time you read one of the gospels, it is God will speak to you in a different way. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope this cleared things up.